Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese, and now at the end of summer, I think it's the perfect time to print those vacation photos. But where are you going to put them? I think it's cool to put them in a photo suitcase. So I've made one here. It's one of my favorite projects, and you can see it's really a match style box so that it's almost like a belly band that you slide the top off, and it has a place for you to put your photos. What I do is I just put scrapbook paper backing each photo. I'll explain to you when we get to the dimensions. I trim a 1/16 inch off of my photos so they slide easily in and out of the box. And then all my journaling and souvenirs and receipts and stamps and all that, I put on the back of each of the photos on the scrapbook paper that's glued to the back of each photo. Those are going to all go inside, but you first need to look at how to build this fun little suitcase. You can see that I've used cardstock that we're going to look at. I've used, in some cases, new stamps, but they could be stamps that indicate a place that you've traveled to. And if you're using a new stamp, if you look at the board or the table here, you can see you can make them look canceled with rubber stamps. I'm really a nerd at heart, and I have bags of stamps that I've saved off envelopes because I use them in my artwork and I just love them. So if you have like say you've been to Nashville, so maybe you have a stamp that would indicate that. Maybe you've been to China or somewhere. Actually, this is, I think, the Olympics, but you'll have stamps for all kinds of places and events that can coordinate with your vacation photos as well. Normally, any place I go, I buy stamps, especially if I'm out of the country. I buy stamps, I send myself postcards. When I get home, I then have a stamp from that country that's canceled, and then I use them in my scrapbook where I highlight those photos. In this case, this little photo suitcase. We're going to start with this belly band that is this outside piece. And the reason we're starting with that is if you only have access to 12 by 12 paper, we're going to need all 12 inches to wrap around. It's going to dictate the dimensions of everything else. So I start for my suitcase with a piece of 12 by 12 paper, and I've already trimmed this down just to save a little time. So this is 12 inches long, and it's 6 1/4 inches wide. And what you're going to want to do is come in a 1/2 inch and score it, and this is going to be the tab. Then come 1 1/2 inches for the side, and then 4 inches, 1 1/2 inches, and 4 inches. So that will give you the 12 inches. In every place where you've scored, you're going to go back and fold. So let me take the dimensions off. So you'll end up having the beginnings of the belly band. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'll put my adhesive on this tab. Remember, you usually need to do more adhesive than me. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold this over and create the belly band. Now you need the box to fit inside. And in order for it to slide easily, it needs to be, gosh, just a hair, maybe between an 1/8 and a 1/16 inch smaller than this. So what I did was created a guide. And especially if you're working with an unusual number of inches, it's not exactly 4 by 6. You can take 4 by 6, trim it a little, or 4 by 6, and use guides. So I have my 4 by 6 shape, and then I have 1 1/2 by 7 for the top and bottom, and 1 1/2 by 9 for the two sides. So you can see when I lay this onto, now this is just an 8 1/2 by 11 piece of the same color of craft colored cardstock. I lay it down. You can see this is going to fit inside. So this is going to be your guide so that you can go ahead and trace with the pencil and then score. And once again, in order to make it faster, I've gone ahead here. You can see that I've scored and folded on all of those lines going all the way around. The only other thing that I've done just to make the assembly easier is on each of these sections I've cut just a little triangle wedge out in order to make the assembly a little easier when it goes together. I'm going to go ahead and I'll put adhesive on these corner tabs. And I'm going to bring each of those corners in. And I'll try to do this so that you can see. Bring that and press. Bring this inside. I need to look and see when I have all my edges lined up, and press. Do the same thing with these corners. So you have the box built, and then I like to go back with my fingers because this cardstock is nice and stiff, but it was the perfect color to mimic my suitcase. So when you have your box, then make sure that it's going to fit for your belly band. It's a nice fit. So at this point, you need to look at decorating it. And I think the decoration is what obviously turns it into a suitcase instead of just looking like a match style box. What I did was I have roughly 3/4 inch strips, and I won't do all of them, but let me just do one of them so you see what I mean. I'm going to put adhesive, and I really am not going to do all the adhesive that you need, but you're going to do much more adhesive. You're going to wrap this around the belly band. So I'll start at one corner and wrap this and finger crease it. Keep going. When you get to this edge, I'm going to overlap it, and I'll go ahead and trim off, and then I'm going to pick up the one that's here because I know it goes right to the end. Stick this other one underneath it, and then just overlap it, and that way you get, I don't have enough adhesive on there, it's not sticking very well, but you get the idea. So I can take it off and get my fingers in there and get a nice adhesion on all of these. The reason I don't lay it down flat is because it will want to buckle a little bit. I want it to stay stuck with this 90-degree angle. So you're going to do that. For the same thing, you're going to repeat the same process on this end. I won't stop to do it, but that will give you the beginning of what looks like a suitcase. And if you look at mine, another element that really looks suitcase-ish are these corners. And I did that with circle punches. So what I did was I took a 1 1/8 inch circle punch, and I punched out of this matching color several circles. And when you fold the circle in half, and then I'm going to trim just a sliver. I'm going to cut right along that fold line. This is going to give me my half circles. I'm going to fold the half circles in order to do all of the belly bands. So once I have this folded, and then I'll put adhesive on here. I'll bring it onto here. Add my adhesive. This is going to go on all of the corners of the belly band. So if I lay this down, I will only do one of them, but I'll show you. So you're going to do this for all of the belly band corners. And then for the box corners, in order to complete that look, you need quarters. So take your half circle, fold it again, this time into what would be fourths or quarters, and do the same thing. Take your scissors, cut right along your fold line. This is going to give you fourths. Put your adhesive. If you have adhesive on something tiny, it's easiest to take a sticky note and put this little thing on the sticky part. It's going to hold it in place. So get your fingers out of the way while you add your adhesive, and then go ahead and place these little guys onto, I have to turn this so I can see what I'm doing. Let me push the box all the way out. Put these on the corners of the box itself. So the quarters go on the box and the halves go on the belly band around the box. So you can see how it's going to end up creating that look. And if we go back to mine where all of those have been created, you can see how it gives you that finished look of a suitcase. The other thing that I think really makes it suitcase-like is the handle. And that's an easy thing to do. I'm going to take a strip, and if this is going to go on the top of the suitcase like so, what I've done is I've taken a strip that's the same 3/4-ish width of these, and I've just created a strip. I've rounded the corners, and I've already gone ahead to save time. You can see that I've punched out a 1/16 inch hole in this end and in the other end. I've folded these in, and because it's going to sit, if you look at mine, it's going to sit right on top of these strips. For it to really stand out, I've gone back with a black marker and I've just marked a little key line around the edge, the lip of this. So once you have that marked, then you want to add your brads. So I'm going to take little brads, and I'm going to stick one in each of these holes, and let me turn it over and poke it open. Opening the brad up is usually the trickiest part of the whole process. And I'll stick a brad in this one and do the same thing. Turn it over and open up those prongs and flatten it out. And then to attach it, what I wanted to do was to make it arc it so it really looks like a suitcase handle. And I know I'm going to want it to hold in place, so I'm going to use foam adhesive that's really super strong. And I just took a piece of foam adhesive and placed it on both of these tabs. I actually used a piece that was bigger that went right over the brad itself, but either way will work. And then if I peel off the protective backing, maybe that's going to turn out to be the trickiest part, even more tricky than opening the prongs of the brad. Come on. Okay, so I have these. You'll have the other strip on here, so then you're going to go ahead, use that adhesive to hold down one side. I'm going to pull the box out so I can get my finger in there and push, and then arc this to create the handle shape, and do the same thing on this side, which of course you'd have your other strip around here as well. So you can see you've really taken all the steps in order to create what looks like the suitcase shape, and then it's a question of decoration. And as I mentioned, I've laid them on the table. I really am a stamp enthusiast, so if you've got cool stamps around, you can use those, and you can use the rubber stamp in order to decorate the front of the suitcase and make it look hand canceled. Or like me, if you have stamps that you've saved, you can use those as well. And then I've just taken a tag shape. You're going to use the tag to print the information that matches your family vacation, your family name, and where you've been to. And then you know what? You're going to go home, you're going to print out those photos, and now you have the perfect place to store them, a little photo suitcase.